Euromaxx highlights in today's show. Sour grapes, reviving a traditional ingredient made from unripe fruit. In Focus, a retrospective of the work of German photographer Guido Mangold. En vogue, Antibes on the Côte d'Azur is still a popular holiday destination. Euromaxx highlights, and here's your host, Robin Merrill.
Hello and welcome to the show from here in Berlin. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the first Jaguar car. In all those years, the company has only produced 2 million of these iconic cars. Mercedes makes 1 million a year in contrast. So a Jaguar really is a very exclusive car to have. To celebrate this anniversary, a number of Jaguar fans got together at a famous racetrack here in Germany and burnt up some rubber.
From 0 to 100 in 5.5 seconds. At the anniversary celebration on the Nürburgring racetrack in Western Germany, the VIPs are making the rounds in the new Jaguar sports car. Former Formula One driver Christian Danner is handing out tips and advice.
It's not about winning, it's about fun. It's a chance to drive a fabulous car on a fabulous racetrack, even if it's just a few meters. And if I'm in front, that's great, and the others will learn something as well.
But the actual stars of the show are the vintage models. 7 record-breaking vehicles dating from the firm's 75-year history. Only some 80 of the 1954 D-Type were ever built. Today, they're valued at around 1 million euros. The firm got its start in 1935 in the English city of Coventry with the SS100. It was the first roadster to carry the Jaguar name and boasted a top speed of 160 kilometers an hour, a sensation at the time. After the Second World War, Jaguar launched the first XK series, a model designation that still exists today. In the 1960s, the Jaguar E-Type became the cult car of the decade. The Roadster debuted in 1961 at the Geneva Motor Show. Even today, it's regarded by many vintage enthusiasts as one of the most beautiful sports cars of all time. Ulrich Dobler is the proud owner of one of the coveted early E-Types. He bought the car 10 years ago. For the lawyer, every one of the 400 kilometers to the Nürburgring will be a special experience.
It's a chance to take part in the swinging 60s, maybe with a nice tape from the Rolling Stones in the background. You really start to relax and call up a few of the dreams you might have had when you were young.
But before the long drive, he brings his 45-year-old vintage car in for a checkup. Along for the ride is his friend Florian Hammerstein. The businessman is also a Jaguar owner and has decided to accompany Dobler to the anniversary event.
It's like an infection. With a Jaguar, with a car like this, it's a fire that starts burning inside you. And the Jaguar E-Type is a car that truly embodies the brand. And this one is an especially nice one.
The mechanic gives the green light for the trip. But despite the car's good condition, the old engine will have to be treated with kid gloves. Instead of the peak speed of 240 kilometers an hour, the Jaguar fans coast along the country road at a sedate pace of 80 to 100 kilometers an hour. After an 8-hour drive, they arrive at the Nürburgring. Driving a Jaguar is more than just a hobby. This car even has a nickname, Kätzchen, German for kitten. Dobler enjoys recounting the adventures he's shared with his E-Type over the years.
I've taken the car to Scotland, to Salzburg, to vintage car rallies in various German cities. But the most impressive experience was its baptism, which my wife urged me to do after I bought the car, a trip to Lago Maggiore.
On the evening of the big event, over 100 invited guests appear at the marquee. The The live music and a catered meal from a top chef are the perfect accompaniment to philosophizing about luxury car design.
It's a cult icon, technology and lifestyle all in one. Something like this couldn't be made today.
The history of the firm has been marked by many highs and lows. But at this anniversary celebration, the cars themselves and the Jaguar lifestyle are at the center of attention.
Now, grapes are most commonly used for making wine, but we're going to have a look at a special kind of grape juice, verjus. This is the pressed juice of unripe grapes, so as you might imagine, it's rather sour. It's a bit like lemon juice, but on the other hand, a bit fruitier. However, it's apparently best used in cooking. We've been to an area in southern Germany to find out more about verjus.
It's 8 in the morning, and Jürgen Koch is plucking green grapes. The star cook and restaurant owner is also a partner in the Tauberhase winemaking company in southern Germany. Today, he's thinning the vines, taking some so that the rest will grow larger and juicier. He used to just throw away the unripe grapes, but now he uses them to make sour juice, called verjus.
We thin the vines shortly before they change colour, always around late July or early August. At that point, the grapes have a low sugar content. In other words, they're rather sour.
The thinning is finished within a few hours, and 3 tons of grapes head for the press house. At the Weinstall, Jürgen Koch's restaurant in Kastel, the harvesters are treated to a hearty meal, wild boar goulash with pears in verjus. In the kitchen, Koch prepares the second course. He uses at least 2 bottles of verjus every day. He wants the harvesters to have a chance to taste it.
I'll be making blaue Zipfel, a kind of Franconian bratwurst, in an onion verjus stock. I use verjus to give a mildly tangy flavour. This sourness, together with the sweetness of the red onions, makes a delicious modern variation of this classic of Franconian cuisine.
By 1 in the afternoon, while the bratwursts are stewing in the verjus stock, the green grapes are being pressed. They're quite hard and difficult to process. Only after a second pressing does the yellow juice start to flow. Verjus is French for green juice. The green refers to the unripeness of the grapes. Now it's time for a first tasting with the cellar master. Was it the right moment to harvest?
I think we caught them at the perfect time. And what I also like is this delicate note of grass.
Yes, very fresh. A little like apples that have been picked prematurely.
Very good.
4 p.m., the last stage of grape pressing. In a nearby cider mill, the 1,500 liters of grape juice are pasteurized and bottled. The bottles are immediately labeled. Koch likes what he sees. The 2010 verjus is ready.
When it's in the bottle, the work is done. In the morning, it was still on the vine. And in the evening, it's a fine kitchen ingredient in a bottle. It's a very good feeling.
Back in the restaurant, the chef has been looking forward to this moment. The 2010 verjus will premiere with coiled sturgeon filet in verjus stock. The mild acidity of the flavoring ingredient fits perfectly with fish. To make the verjus stock, onions are sautéed and then drenched with unripe grape juice. Jürgen Koch finally has enough verjus in his pantry. Only 6 bottles were left from the 2009 vintage. The star cook is satisfied with the new harvest, but sees potential for development.
I think it will continue to benefit from developing in the bottle. I think it will be as good as the 2009 verjus, which several gourmet magazines chose as among the top 5 in Germany.
At 7 in the evening, the sturgeon coils are ready. The verjus sauce has been seasoned with mustard, giving it a golden yellow color. This morning, still on the vine, and already on the plate. The 2010 Verjuice. But probably only true fans like Jürgen Koch would enjoy the sour juice straight up with ice cubes.
Indeed. Moving on to one of the great German photographers of the post-war era, Guido Mangold. There's currently a major retrospective of his work in Munich, and it's quite clear he has an eye for the unusual and a knack for capturing the moment. For over half a century, he's photographed landscapes, the famous and the beautiful, and taken literally thousands of thought-provoking pictures.
For half a century, Guido Mangold was on a constant quest for the perfect photograph. Munich Stadtmuseum is only showing a tiny fraction of the results in a retrospective of his work. On display are about 100 photos, seen by millions of newspaper and magazine readers.
The one thing all photography has in common is that I play a peripheral role as a photographer. I observe and remain in the background.
The criteria for a good picture depends on its function.
For landscape photography, when the light is right. For portraits, when I draw out something from the inside. For photojournalism, when the situation tells a story. Absolute reduction was always very important to me.
Guido Mangold strolling through Munich. He's been taking pictures with this pre-digital age camera for decades. He was born in 1934, and when he was 14, his parents forced him to enter the bakery business. At the end of the 1950s, he won a scholarship to study photography in Essen. He started with realist industrial landscapes, moving on to portraiture. In 1959, he met the German writer Annette Kolb. She gave the student 5 minutes. The resulting shot won the gold medal at the Milan Biennale. The image of the jazz musician Louis Armstrong won him the World Press Photo Award in 1962.
I went to the end of the hall with a big telephoto lens and kept my eye on the viewfinder. I managed to catch the fraction of a second when the folded handkerchief entered the frame.
His international breakthrough came with his photos of US President John F. Kennedy's 1962 visit to Berlin. Only 6 photographers were allowed to take pictures up close.
It was an intensely emotional experience to see these crazy Berliners who were happy the US president was there and that they hadn't been sold off to the East.
Just months later, at Kennedy's funeral in the US, he outsmarted 800 other photographers and was the first to get his images back to Germany. Guido Mangold has mastered all the celebrity tricks, like slipping into places where photographers weren't allowed. Dressed as a gentleman, he blended into the Monte Carlo ball crowd and captured British Queen Elizabeth II on her first visit to Germany in 1965. Guido Mangold also discovered Uschi Obermeier. His photo of her graced the cover of Twen in 1968. Her face captured the spirit of the times, and Uschi Obermeier became an internationally successful model.
The cover photo of Uschi in a T-shirt set the hormones of an entire generation racing. It wasn't intentional, but that's how it was.
One of Guido Mangold's favourite places is this lake in Munich. He's photographed it many times. Well into his 8th decade, his constant desire to learn means he's still developing his skills today.
I just love his photos. Every single one has something very special in it. Now we're off to an upmarket destination in the south of France. It's actually a popular playground for the rich and famous on the Côte d'Azur. Wedged between the better-known towns of Cannes and Nice is the more unassuming and, in my opinion, even more beautiful town of Antibes. And I'm not alone. Antibes has been a favourite place for many artists down the years.
Antibes is one of the oldest cities on the Côte d'Azur. Once the ancient city of Antibes, it's now a popular holiday destination. Founded almost 2,500 years ago by the Greeks, the city boasts a 16th century fortress and historic city walls. In the centre of the old town, you'll find the Picasso Museum. The famous painter had a studio in the building from September till November 1946.
Picasso didn't live here, but he came here every day to work, usually after breakfast. He stayed until late at night, working under big lamps.
The museum boasts 255 paintings, sculptures, ceramic objects and drawings by the artist. Most of them were also created here in his Antibes studio. Some pictures were painted directly on the walls. None of the works are signed by Picasso. He only signed the works when they left his studio. The art created here is different from Picasso's other works.
After the war, Picasso's works exploded in color. He began using lots of blue and aubergine. The Mediterranean context influenced him too. You can see that in the food, the zest for life, and the centaurs.
Opposite the museum, there's a shop where Picasso fans can buy souvenirs. But limited edition replicas of Picasso ceramics don't come cheap. One-of-a-kind articles will set you back up to 60,000 euros. Picasso was just one of several artists to temporarily set up shop in Antibes. The celebrated American writer F. Scott Fitzgerald was also a resident here. The Art Deco house he lived in until 1926 was turned into a hotel at the beginning of the 1930s. The five-star establishment has become a favourite haunt of international stars. Singer Edith Piaf, musician Miles Davis and actor George Clooney have all stayed here.
Back when my family bought the house, we didn't have much money. So it was gradually extended, and many of the original features were kept. I think that's where the charm comes from. The hotel has remained in our family, and we've kept the 1930s atmosphere intact.
The Antibes Marina is the largest on the Côte d'Azur and in Europe. The biggest yachts are moored in a section known as Billionaire's Quay. The city's new landmark rises above the harbour, an 8-metre-high work of art crafted by Spanish sculptor Jean Plensart. The old town is alluring. Its winding, narrow streets and provincial market encourage visitors to explore. Weary tourists can rest their legs in the absinthe bar. The watering hole is dedicated to the once forbidden drink. Nowadays, you can sample it here in 40 different flavours. The high-proof alcoholic beverage is served in a unique way. It's dripped into customers' glasses through a sugar cube.
The absinthe drinks all taste different, and everyone has their own favorite. You could say the drink is celebrated here. It makes for a good, easygoing atmosphere. It's easy to get talking to people.
For a bit of relaxation, head to the botanical gardens of Villa Thurey. The gardens were planted in the mid-19th century. They cover 35,000 square meters of land and feature about 2,500 plants and trees. Some of them rare, like this endangered Chilean palm, 120 years old with a girth of 3.5 meters.
We observe the plants and try to use them in a way that benefits the community. Embellishing landscapes, for example. And we cultivate new varieties of cut flowers.
Entrance is free, but not many people know this, so the idyllic park is often empty. It's a pleasant place to find some shade in the city, with an average 300 sunny days a year.
It does look good. To become a top classical singer requires a lot of dedication, years of training, and I think a strong determination to succeed. And to keep your voice in fine fettle, you must train it like an athlete trains for a particular sport. The German soprano Barbara Krieger does all that and still finds time to raise a family and indulge in some rather unusual pastimes. So how does she do it? We met up with her in Dresden.
Barbara Krieger is a passionate performer. She sings as though her life depended on it.
I
don't like to live as if I had a second chance, and that makes life fun. There are so many people who say, "Oh, I'm so exhausted, but I don't know what I did all day." That seldom happens with me. Actually, it never happens.
For Barbara Krieger, singing is one of the biggest joys in life. But she also swims a kilometer every morning, likes to go snowboarding, and flies a helicopter.
Flying a helicopter is different from flying an airplane. You have to keep everything under control at all times with both your hands and your feet. If you let go, you'll fall. In an airplane, once you've taken off, you can let go and you'll just keep flying. If you let go in a helicopter, it goes plum, 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 and you crash. And this tremendous concentration while you fly is like while you sing. And that's what I like about it. It makes me feel well.
A classic open-air concert in front of the Church of Our Lady in Dresden. Barbara Krieger is performing with Jose Cura, the star tenor from Argentina. Barbara loves a challenge, but she'd still prefer to sing in good weather.
I gave a concert last year, no, the year before, at Berlin's Gendarmenmarkt. There, for the first time in my life at a concert, it rained so hard I swallowed water and it went down the wrong pipe. My whole mouth was full of water when I tried to breathe.
Barbara completed her singing studies with honors at the Mozarteum University in Salzburg in 1996. But before that, her parents insisted she studied something that would ensure a job. So she studied German, English, and musicology in Mainz in Western Germany.
I was 22 when I finished those studies, and I wanted to audition for a really good music school. I auditioned to study in Paris, Vienna, and Salzburg. All three wanted me. So I thought in Paris I'd study for about 25 years, in Vienna 10, and in Salzburg 3. And it worked out that way. Because Salzburg shuts down at 6:30 p.m., you can concentrate on your studies, not on your surroundings.
Barbara's hard work at music school paid off. She won a contest at Milan's Scala Opera House and was hired by the Vienna State Opera. 10 years ago, she gave birth to a son. Since then, she's had to find a new balance between profession and family. The soprano likes to experiment with music, especially with jazz. Barbara and her advisor and manager Gerhard Kempfer often look for new directions, but that doesn't affect her musical tastes.
This is my great love, singing lieder. For me, that's the most puristic kind of singing. Because when you sing grand opera with 80 people in the background and texts that aren't exactly profound, of course that's wonderful. It's an experience, like a volcano eruption. But when you really work through a lied with a good pianist, including its literary quality, for me that's simply the high point of singing.
Das ist für mich einfach die Krönung des Singens.
Lieder evenings are not on her schedule in the summer. She doesn't like jam-packed tours because, as she says, No one has a life in reserve, and there's more to her life than music.
If you'd like to know more about our show, try our website at dw-world.de/English/Euromaxx and all will be revealed. But that's it for now, so until next time, auf Wiedersehen und bye-bye.